Yeah, yeah. We back at it. Welcome to Say What I Mean. Heen, what's good?
I'm good, brother. How's everything with you, man? How's the new family?
Everything is good with that. Um, it's funny, I'm sleeping when she's sleeping. That's how it goes right now.
Okay.
So, but everything is good with that.
She's awake now, I'm assuming.
Nah, she's sleeping. But my
Okay,
wife
cool, cool,
my
cool.
wife is with her. They
Okay.
doing their thing. You know, I was about to come up with, a ill little freestyle like Heem. I was gonna be like, my man Heem worldwide, hemoglobin, but I was like, nah, I ain't gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? That's a little bit of a reach. But hey, you know, we reach for the stars. That's
If
how
you
you
got the
do it.
bars, man, go for it. I'm here.
I ain't saying nothing. I did have a few ill punchlines. You might not get it done all at once, but you can get it done 11. That's one by one. I'm not saying that, and I'm just
Okay,
saying.
okay,
I do got a
okay.
little bit of bars. I remember I had a bar saying something like, you know, when I'm done, I'm done. Um, I'm like a janitor at lunch. It's a clean break. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I
All
do,
right.
I do. It rhymed. It went better though, because I used to write rap in the day. I might get back in it just because people got to know. You
It's
know.
better than me, man. I haven't written a bar in like a long time, and I don't plan on starting again because my pen was never the strongest. So
Your mouth ain't matching up. I'm gonna remove you and add you back. But that sounded crazy too. Like what New Yorkers say. Pause. Let me say that. All right. Let me see.
are we
All
good
right.
now?
Hold up. Say something else.
Yo, are we good now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We good. We
Okay.
good. We good. It was looking crazy. It was looking like one of those old kung fu flicks.
You know, it's weird. That happened last time, and then I watched it, and like it was smooth. It wasn't a problem at all. And even now, when we were doing this, I didn't have an issue when it happened. Like, so I'm wondering if like once in post, it's like, oh, it's actually kind of smooth now. Like it actually wasn't an issue. 'Cause I didn't see anything.
I think the people just don't want this message to get out. That's my
Hey,
thinking.
listen.
That's my thinking. But we here. But yo, so you used to write though, huh?
Yeah, I tried. I dabbled. I was like, I wrote, and then I also like tried to do like when people had Fruity Loops because everybody was inspired by Ninth Wonder making
Yeah, yeah,
the album on the Fruity Loops. And he was like, all right,
yeah.
let's all try it. So I did some beats here and there. I wasn't that good at it, and I don't talk about it like I was great. It's just like mid level Fruity Loop sounding beats without like being mixed properly. So you can tell when there's a professional and when there's like a college kid just seeing what this is all about. So I wasn't that good.
Yeah, yeah, I feel you. I remember I put down my pen at 15. So like I could write bars, but my flow was all off. I was like, man,
Yeah,
I had to do all that. But then
that's
I
the other
picked
thing
it back
too.
up just to write. I'm like, I ain't gonna try to rap, but I'm like, I could do poetry at least.
Okay,
That's what it was.
shoot, go for it.
Hip I had. But anyway, we got some things to talk about. It's the stimmy. Uh,
Hmm.
People then got their money in their banks accounts. One of the things that I was impressed with when it comes to the stimulus bill, and of course it should have been 2,000. All the criticisms that we had for it, we did talk about it a few times. I was surprised at the speed they was able to get it out. I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting that because some people got their payments that Friday, which
Yep.
is incredibly fast. I was really surprised about that.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
Everything is digital now, man. So if you were able to sync your bank account to it, like yeah, people were getting their checks. I think today like was like like today was supposed to be like target date for some people. Some people got it on Friday, Saturday, like you said. But this stuff all comes out really fast, so it's just crazy how. I mean, it makes sense though when you consider like they give billions to like to pump up like the government, like other large companies and stuff like that. So money's not real, in the sense that it needs to be physical anymore. Like it's all like a digital analog code or something like that. So it kind of makes sense that they can get it out fast. And I'm glad because some people needed this money like needed it months ago.
right.
So
And
it's good.
And for some people, it was a significant amount, depending on how
Yes.
many children they have,
Yes.
if they married. So I'm glad people was able to get that. Hopefully, people can catch up on some of the bills. People
Mm-hmm.
that food insecure
Mm-hmm.
can get that together, because that's a problem that's not talked about enough. Food insecurity is a major problem in this country that more focus need to be given to.
Yeah.
I'm glad in the package, money was directed to agriculture, to SNAP programs, to Black farmers,
Black
and
farmers. Yep.
a lot of white supremacists losing their mind over that aspect. But
Sad. Sad.
yeah, yeah. But overall, um, now that the official package is passed, people is getting money in their pockets right now. Have your opinion of the bill changed? Do you like it more, or do you still have the same criticisms of the bill?
I mean, let's be real. $3,200 for a year is nothing. You know what I mean? Like that's not a lot of money. I know, like this bill individually um gives people those tax breaks and gives people like credits for that and extends UI and so forth. But uh, we can't like lose sight on the fact that this was like this the way the government's response has been a failure of like epic proportions. Like this is a major failure. However, the one thing I will say that's positive is that during Biden's speech last week when he gave the speech about the stimulus, and he mentioned that he wanted to open up around July 4th, or just intimated that we could potentially do that if we all take the vaccines and making the vaccines available for all adults by May 1st. The one thing that was important in there was he mentioned he called out like the government for failing in a way, and he said that we need to do more for you all. We work for you all. We the people. I believe he said, which is the first few statements of the Constitution.
Right.
And I think that the significant aspect of that is like the Reagan paradigm might be ending. Reagan has been dead for he hasn't been president since 1989, which is 23 years, 22 years now. He's been dead for 16 years now, 17 years now. But his shadow has always loomed large over our politics. Starting when he came in there and did what he did, and then Bill Clinton saying that big government, the era of big government's over, and Barack Obama coming in and kind of carrying a lot of the same Bill Clinton traditions and so forth, and along with all the different Republican presidents that have come in and did all this stuff. And I had a feeling that was going to happen with Trump, honestly. Like even when he was president, you kind of felt like, all right, this is like the dying embers of this movement, the Reagan quote unquote revolution. It felt like it was kind of the end of it, because you had to go out with the most bombastic and loudest and whatever way. Now I didn't know if it ended, will we be able to have a democracy afterwards or whatever? But you just felt like this is like the last straw, last stand for all of this. And I'm not saying Biden is like the answer to it, but what I do think is that this is like the first step where we are starting to move beyond that, where these significant like anti-poverty programs, even though they're temporary, these significant anti-poverty programs in this stimulus bill will help a lot of people that were struggling. The credits for people that have children, these are all like really really important stuff that will help people. This is like the first like real major anti-poverty legislation we've had as a country since LBJ's Great Society programs in the 60s. It's not enough, but I think what's happening now is at least the first step towards saying, well, we did that before, so why can't we do that again? And why can't we continuously do that? Especially since now there's money coming in. This year you can say it's an emergency and so forth, and the economy is wrecked. But now with the economy, like with the thinking of the economy is going to improve, people are going to be like, well, you're really not going to give us that anymore. And that's why like Republicans fight so hard against all this stuff, is because you give people a taste of it one time, they're gonna be like, nah, we have to. People are gonna want that more now, and I think that, I just think that this is like Trump was probably the end of it. And everything he did was kind of like the last like grasp of it. But I think we're going to start seeing a transition away from the government doesn't work for you anymore. We need the
Right.
government. So,
And I do have a question for you about McConnell and the Republican strategy. But before I get into that, I agree with everything you said. The one concern I do have about the Democrats is the child tax credit is one of the best part of this legislation. Very good. The crazy thing is, it's still a lot of people that don't know that it's that in the bill. So people are going to receive a significant amount of money, starting, I believe, with the child tax credit, July. July is when they're going to start getting those payments. They're going to receive, and that's back in from the beginning of the year, to my understanding. People's going to receive a lot of money. They're not even going to be expecting it, and they're going to be very happy to receive that money. I wish the Democrats would have made it more than 1 year, though.
yes.
Because my concern is, you know how Democrats do. Oh, this is really popular. Let's shoot ourselves in the foot.
Yeah.
So that's going. The child tax credit is going to be extremely popular. My concern is in 2022, and it's election year. Maybe it's too much spending. Let's get rid of the child tax credit, something that's extremely popular, and let's not do. That's my concern, right there.
Yeah, that is possible.
Hopefully they don't do that. But I want to ask you about Mitch McConnell, right? This bill, as much as it's lacking, is very popular. I think last time I looked at what it was about 62% approval from the American people. I know Mitch McConnell trying to replay what he did with the Obama administration, with just saying no to everything. But was it a mistake for not one Republican to vote for the bill, considering the fact that the bill is this popular?
I mean, it's funny because it probably was a mistake, yet they're going around celebrating the bill like they voted for it themselves. Because there's been a couple senators and Congress people that are running around saying like, "I'm glad this is a part of the bill and it's very important," even though they voted against it. I think it was a mistake because like this was like needed, and this is like a really, really popular bill. Now in their world, though, what they'll say is that we're going to gerrymander the fuck out of like the country now going forward. So who cares how they feel about how popular it is? Once we get in power, we're going to do away with all this stuff because we don't care. But I think what you're going to see, especially if what Biden is doing, which is like going around the country and selling it, which I think is, to me, that's the thing that Democrats always fail on, is they don't celebrate their wins for some reason, or they make it some weird quirk in the technocratic lens or whatever that makes it hard for people to really grasp what they've done. And so I think Biden going around the country with Vice President Harris and telling people this is what you're getting out of this, and this is what you'll be getting out of this, and this is why it's good, is going to be really important, especially because Biden is still a pretty popular president. It's still like seen as like he still has very high approval ratings and so forth. I think that this will probably backfire on Republicans just because they're gonna go around and selling it, and they're gonna bring up on the stage like this congressperson voted for it, this senator voted for it, this and had them talk about this stuff as well. I think that's to me, that's the most important thing you can do, is celebrate your win, celebrate your accomplishment, and use your pulpit as president to let people know your accomplishments. I mean, Trump did that crap for the last like 4 years, even though he didn't do a damn thing. So I think it's a good look that Biden is like going to use the weight of the presidency, office of the president, to go around the country and get airtime and get in people's faces and say like, yeah, this is what this means for your individual state, and these Congress people voted for it in your districts, and this is going to help you in this way. You know, it may
Yeah,
not matter if they don't get HR1 passed and all these other voting rights stuff passed, but it's important that they do that, because what may end up happening is like a backlash of like Republicans doing away with this stuff, where they may have to just continue on with it. I mean, they've wanted to get rid of Social Security forever, and they can't. You know what I mean? Or Medicare. So you give people a taste of it. Uh, I think people will like say this is great, and I can't do about this. And if you get rid of this, I'm going to lose my mind. Even Affordable Care Act, they've tried to get rid of it, and they can't, because people support it. People want it, even if it's perfect. So we'll see what they try to do. But I think that it was a mistake not voting for it.
right, right, right. And it seems to me that what they are banking on is raising the cultural issues, stuff that's going on in the border.
Yeah.
In the past, that's been very successful for them, though. It's going to be interesting to see if Biden going around the country promoting this American Rescue Plan,
Mm-hmm.
and everything is in it, because there's a bunch of different stuff in it. A lot of good provisions in the bill. Will that be enough to combat the cultural wars that Republicans seem to be so good at waging?
Yeah, it's a tough question.
Yeah,
It's a tough question. I don't know the answer to it, because again, we like before the talk, we were talking about the focus on like sex, with like just different political sex scandals and so forth. So
right.
I don't know the answer to that, but what I do know is if people see money in their pockets, that's enough in a lot of ways. So you just got to keep selling that we're giving you money. That's the way I think of it. Like, I think Biden said that he wasn't going to put his signature on the checks that were handed out to people and stuff. Well, I think that's not a bad idea. I think that's the right on approach to it. I think he should send a letter to people saying what we did, and the importance of this, and the importance that we, the Democrats, did. And we can do so much more if we bring more Democrats on board. I think that should be the thing you need to do. I know, you got to take credit for this stuff. You got to let people know that you did this, and the speaking tour is going to be a great step to that. But yeah, I definitely think that just saying it and saying we did this is going to be critical.
I said this to Fi yesterday, right? People are ecstatic about these $1,400 checks. Can you imagine how happy they would have been if they would have kept the original 2,000 that they promised?
I'm saying,
and
man,
then
like
it means tested down a little bit.
2000, it was 1,400, and it actually went to the people that they said they were going to give it to, because that's the other drawback of this bill, is that I think 17 million people aren't covered got $600 but didn't get the rest of the $1,400.
Right.
There wasn't any reason to do that other than like trying to acquiesce, asshole centrists that don't that don't really understand why, that don't see like that don't have like their feet to the fire like a lot of other people do. So I don't know, but people are happy about this, and I'm happy that that the checks are going out right away, and that Biden and Vice President Harris are going around the country talking about it.
I am too. I want to ask you. I got a whole bunch of questions with this
Mm-hmm.
it's a bunch of different stuff. I know my opinion, but people get to hear from me all the time. So I'm just like, there's so much stuff to talk about with this. So I want to talk about both Republicans voters and not necessarily Democratic voters, but people that's maybe voted for Obama in 08 and didn't vote again, or
They
voted
didn't
for
vote again?
12, huh?
You said they didn't vote again?
Yeah, that might not have voted again after
Okay.
Obama in 08 or in 2012. That set out 2016, that set out 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because people like money, now you can have government policies, but if people don't see how it directly affected them, a lot of times people don't care.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things, first I'm going to ask with the Republicans. Now that they get in, like, the Republicans they always talk about the budget and they care so much about that, supposedly. now that they getting these checks, and a lot of them going to get a lot of money with the child tax credit as well. Do you think some of them would change their mind in voting in the next election, in the congressional elections, due to the fact that they actually get intangibles that they can actually fill, or are those culture wars so important that they'll say, I don't care about my economics? We always say they vote against their economics, but this time it's actually cash. Do you think that's be a little bit different?
Well, I wouldn't, man. Like it. All right, so it depends on what you're talking about when you're saying that. Are you talking about poor Republican voters? We're talking about poor white Republican voters.
Yes.
I don't even know. I mean, I got to look at the breakdown. You might know a little bit more about this, but I'm not even sure if like they vote as heavily Republican as we kind of think, or if they vote at all. I think that's the biggest thing, is kind of like engage them and so forth. So I have like, I've read stuff where I should cite this stuff obviously, but poor people don't vote in this country. Like that's kind of like the crux of it. Poor people don't vote because of either work related stuff, or they just don't see the value of it, and so forth. So I think the biggest thing is, I wouldn't worry about Republican voters. I'd worry about the people that aren't voting. That's always what I like. I think you need to care about. And that's what Bernie Sanders tried to do last year when he was running president, but didn't do a good job of. Is you got to like get those that don't vote by which are a lot of Americans and a lot of poor Americans, by having like anti-poverty policy legislation, by giving checks out to people, doing stuff like that. I think that as long as you're out selling this and promoting this, and also passing more legislation that's like anti-poverty, and very pro working class, that's how you get those people out. The problem is, of course, Democrats tend not to do that. Republicans don't do it. They rely on the culture wars, and then Democrats tend not to do that, or don't do that much. This is like one of the first times that they've done that in a long time. So I think the key really is, like we were saying earlier, to go out and sell this. Go into like those like towns that are really really poor, and say like, we can do more here. We're giving you this much, and you're seeing the impact of that. You now have like a little bit of space to do things. We can do more if you like get more people to come out and vote for my policies.
Yeah.
The key is, like, of course, though, the key though is that that has to be the policies. It can't be like we're giving $2,000 and then no, we actually meant 1,400 plus the 600 you already got. So you gotta actually like really like back it for real. So that's the key, I think. But it I people like feeling stuff. People like to see stuff that touch their hands. So I think if you just go out and start saying that we did this, I think that's the way you can get people on board. That's always been my belief. So
Yeah, you kind of bled in, some of your answer kind of bled into my question about the folks that haven't voted since Obama. Basically, that's why I was going for the people that don't really vote. But the reason why I was asking with the Republican voters, I seen something interesting on, I believe it was CNN, where they went to West Virginia, where Manchin is at. And West Virginia is a very poor state, heavily Republican state, as of recently anyway. Before, there was a lot of, it was kind of more of a purple state before, but now it's a heavy Republican state. And they was talking to some of the people in West Virginia, and a lot of them was disappointed that the Republicans didn't vote for the package, because obviously the people out there really need that money, especially with the decline of the coal industry. So that's why that's why I'm interested to see. I'm not expecting to see West Virginia vote for a Democrat at the presidential level, But I'm more interested to see like in congressional races. Now they don't have a lot of congressional members to begin with because it's more of a smaller state population wise. But that those are the type of trends I want to see, like in some of these areas, in these congressional races. If there's any changes or if issues like abortion is like still outweigh the economics of it. As
Well,
far
I would
you know,
even go for like it's not necessarily like you don't because I think in fact I gotta look at it again, but I think like I know the guy changed parties now, but they were elected when he ran for the governor, Jim Jeffries, I think his name is. He was Democrat.
mm,
Jim Jeffries, I think his name was the
right.
governor of the state. He was
Mhm,
Democrat when he ran for president ran for governor in 2016,
mhm,
or 2018. I'm sorry, whatever year it was. I'm blanking right now, but whatever year he ran for governor, I think it was the Trump election year. He ran for governor as Democrat, and they usually have. I think like their state house is actually as Democrat. Now the difference is that it's not the same allegiances with the Democratic Party nationally. Like they're West Virginia Democrats, which is
mhm.
probably like nationwide Republicans and so forth. So I think what I'm more so concerned with is not necessarily vote anyone blue, but more so like let's vote for people that are actually like willing to help people's livelihoods and people's lives. And if they're Democrats, then great, let's like vote for that.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I agree with that.
yeah,
100.
yeah.
I I guess I use the West Virginia um example, not specifically just for West Virginia, just those type of districts
Hmm.
and common races. It goes beyond West Virginia. It goes to Mississippi. It goes
Yeah.
to Alabama. It goes to all these really poorer conservative areas.
Hmm.
Um, I just want to see if any dents is going to be in those areas. I wouldn't be too optimistic, but the next cycle, I just would like to see some of the numbers. My
I
guess
think
is
that the key is just to go back down there and talk to those people, especially. I think if you're Biden, you shouldn't be afraid of Alabama. You shouldn't be afraid of Mississippi. You need to go in there and advocate for them. That problem is, that's one thing I give Warren a lot of credit for when she was running, is that she like went to Mississippi and she went to like those states in the deep South, even though like they weren't going to vote for her. She was like, no, I'm still listening to y'all, and I'm still going to like run the country for you all. That's the key, really. Is like, you know, you can't run to your people. You got to run to the entire country and say like, this is for you. Like I've done this for you. I think that stuff makes a big difference, and not for the presidential stuff necessarily, but more so for establishing a strong party outpost in those municipalities. I think that's a big problem with the Democratic Party, is that those those states that we're talking about, they've given up on them at a national level. Like they've completely given up on them, and you see like their state party houses are like in disarray usually because they've given up on them. So the key is to like go down there for real and be like, all right, well, Biden's here now, so we got to actually like be serious about this and actually like
well, and the
clean
other
this up.
reason I'm interested too is because Jamie Harrison is now the head of DNC,
Hmm.
and for people who don't know who he is, he was the Democratic Senate nominee, ran against Lindsey Graham in South Carolina.
Hmm.
Um, he lost by about 10 points. I didn't expect him to win anyway. I think people was kind of deluding themselves to think he was going to win in a deep red state like that. But one of his stated goals, and because he ran in a deep red state, I think he is sincere with trying to make inroads. So I want to see if they're going to be able to do it. It's going to be tough because these cultural issues in those places it runs deep. Especially heavily religious, heavily church areas. Um, you bring up an issue like abortion that might override some economic interests. And just culturally, a lot of these people just grow up Republican. Democrat is like a bad word. Like liberal is definitely a bad word. Some of them might not even know what progressive is, but progressive is probably becoming a bad word in those areas too. So
Yeah.
so it's just it's interesting. I'm glad that at least some Dems are starting to see the need to not really kowtow to them, because I don't throw black quote unquote what they call urban issues under the bus for that. No, you could talk about how help your healthcare policies will help them. You're trying to bring healthcare to these rural areas where they don't have the hospitals or the community health centers necessary to effectively deal with their population, because it doesn't make money to go out there. And, the hospital industry is about money right now. So like talking about issues like that, I want to, it's not going to happen overnight. I'm just looking for a little bit of improvement in that area, and that can make a difference.
And you make a great point with that. There's this like weird thing for a lot of the milquetoast Democrats who I always say were like Republicans if it wasn't for racism, pretty much. But a lot of those Democrats that are there, they always say like, you city folk can't run in these areas with these policies. That doesn't work. And it's like the people in like these areas that are winning in these cities have the same issues that people in these jurisdictions have. And that's actually the one thing that I think the weird thing that Malcolm X and Martin Luther King discovered when they were like crisscross the country, and they entered they left their comfort zones and went down to different parts of the country. Say, oh, these issues are very similar. I didn't know. I'm maybe not speaking the right language, but these issues are similar. So the key isn't to say like, well, let's run with like somebody that is like very conservative as well and just put a Democratic label on them. The key is like, well, let's hone in on what these issues are that are affecting these people. And they're similar to that. Well, you're gonna bring somebody in that maybe has like that same progressive bent or same like liberal bent that you might see in the urban areas, but they know how to speak the language of people that live in this jurisdiction. And I think that's something that Democrats have just not done a good job of since they've gone down the neoliberal wave of it in the early '80s and stuff. Is they've forgotten that you got to speak the right language, and people want good hospital, people want good healthcare, people want more money in their pockets, people want jobs of dignity. That's like a thing that you're going to see all across the world, and those areas especially. Excuse me. Inner cities have issues. Poor areas have issues with like broadband internet. So do like rural areas. These aren't issues. Rural areas have issues with bad roads. So do city areas. Just you gotta talk about those things that are commonalities and talk in language that's fitting in them. And I think that the Democrats. This is what was getting early with the Reagan stuff. For so long, they've been playing the Reagan playbook and trying to appeal to that audience instead of just appealing to the people that are that need help and how we can help them and need to talk the right language. And maybe that'll change in the next 10 years or so. We'll see.
Absolutely, because because Democrats is a big tent party. The only way you can really satisfy the entire coalition is for big bills where everybody gets something. That's the only way you can do it. The reason, like, for instance, right, in this package, the $5 billion that they given to the black farmers in this bill, right? If you would have tried to pass that alone, a lot of these moderates wouldn't have voted for it. But because it's such a huge package, they kind of sneaked that in where people didn't notice until after it was passed. That didn't even get pushed back from Republicans because Republicans didn't even really seem to notice until after the bill was passed. That was it. So because of our big tent, and we all kind of competing with each other for resources, the only way to do this is for each group to actually see what they're getting. So big government have to be big government, to be honest, in order for this coalition to work. Now, me personally, I hate the party system.
Yeah, I do too.
I would love to go to ranked choice voting or a totally different system, but the system we got now, we stuck with this.
Yeah.
So, and I did want to ask you on the other end too. when it comes to people that set out the election, people say both they wouldn't vote for Republicans, but they basically they discussed it with Democrats over the last few years. Both sides are the same. I can definitely understand why people feel that way. But I always told people it was little issues that make the difference and we're voting for.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the people in the ADOS crowd, that too as well, that was like, okay, black people's not getting anything specific, so I'm not voting. Do you think this bill will make a dent in that? Like with, of course, the $1,400 direct check, but the child tax credits that people's going to get a lot of money as well, and they kind of point to the farm and agriculture part of that. Do you think that will make a difference with that crowd?
No.
Yeah, that was quick too.
No, I don't. And the reason why I think that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Some of the we talked about this before. A lot of the ADOS FBA people, they have like a lot of like legitimate points that that really do need to be focused on, but they won't be satisfied, in my opinion, until the bill reads like this is for black people only. That's like the only way they'll find satisfaction. And we talked about it before. Black people make up about 12-13% of this country, and there's barely any in Congress. So you're not going to be able to find a bill that's going to just be the black people only bill, because that will never pass, because there isn't, and you got to like start. You can't do that. So, yeah, I don't think that'll satisfy them. But what I would hope is that those people that are maybe like stepping into that a little bit, they like get like they see these advantages of this bill that's happened so far and been like, oh, okay, well, yeah, y'all are kind of talking nonsense, because I'm seeing this in my pocket right now, and I'm seeing this for my child and so forth. That's what I hope that it's convinced by those people that are like kind of like in that gray fringe area. They're like, yeah, I listen to these. I'm following like the ADOS people and seeing stuff, but I'm not all the way convinced by it. Maybe I'm gonna stick around here and do stuff. But the people that are like really entrenched in it, I don't think that this is moving them at all, because they've already like, it's the same thing with Republicans that are like, I'm gonna vote for Republicans no matter what. We were talking about earlier. They're that's like its own like audience. And I think it's hard to kind of break that. I'm not saying you shouldn't try to, and these bills are an advantage towards that, but it's really hard to like break that stuff. Like we talk about it now. The only way you can sneak in stuff like this is if you you put in a massive bill. That's the only way you can sneak in like that money that you're giving to farmers and so forth. There won't be, unfortunately, like a black farmers bill. That it's not going to happen. Because like it'd be too polarizing. The word black is a very polarizing word in this country, and I just don't think they break into it, in my opinion.
Well, for me, because there is a black farmers bill in Congress right now with Cory Booker introduced it in the Senate, which is a very important bill.
But do you think it'll get passed?
Was that?
Do you think it'll pass though?
No. What I think they can do, I think, because there's going to be another reconciliation.
Yeah, we're talking about the same thing. You're gonna have to make a big bill. That's the only way you can put it in there. It's not gonna pass it, but it won't be a standalone black farmers bill. That's what I'm getting at.
For me, I don't mind dog whistles going in the right direction. Now, I don't like the way conservatives and the Southern strategy type of dog whistles, but if the target is black people, and we know that we gonna mainly benefit, we the main ones that benefiting off of this policy. For me, you could call it the toilet paper bill. I don't care what it called. Are we getting the benefits or not? That's all I care about, really.
I hear you.
So for me, the next reconciliation bill, they probably going to do that because I know they want infrastructure. I know that's another the next big economic goal for the Biden administration is infrastructure bill. To get that done, probably gonna have to go through reconciliation unless they really reform the filibuster. And we'll see we'll see what they do with that. Um, if I think some of the provisions in that can be slipped through. I do, if they call it the Black Farmers Bill, like it's called now, because it actually is the Black Farmers Bill.
Right.
Um, it it probably will be hard to pass because the Republicans are more on alert because the Democrats were smart. They was able to sneak these provisions for the black farmers in this bill, and most of it went under the radar.
Yeah.
Now they're gonna be looking out for that now, and you already have the Republicans minority leader in the House, McCarthy, calling it reparations, which is not reparations.
Which is disgusting.
But
yeah.
you already have Lindsey Graham talking about it's very disturbing that was in the bill. So you had Stephen Crowder making an extremely racist video on this recently. So like even this little bit of benefits to black farmers got them up in arms.
And you see what the reason why we have to do that is because Lindsey Graham, Stephen Crowder, Kevin McCarthy won't be hurt by what they're saying, even though what they've been saying is racist as hell. They're not going to be hurt by that, and they know that.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas if you say something polarizing like the word black something bill, even though the moderates, the white, like we were saying earlier, like the moderate Democrats, like they only voted for it because of all this other stuff that's already in there. But if you had a standalone bill for that, they wouldn't support it. So the only point I'm getting at is that it's hard for measures like this to pass because of like the word black, and it wouldn't even get a lot of it wouldn't get the majority of Democratic votes. Now I would suggest this is me being a little bit more leftist and progressive or close to socialist or whatever. Let's start actually saying poverty. Like start targeting poverty. Start targeting lower class people, which are overrepresented by Black and Latino people, and so forth, and kind of create like a bill that targets those people that are in the lower class, and you don't have to say race.
I agree with you for the most part, but specifically with the farming bill, they can't do that because the Justice for Black Farmer bill is about correcting historical injustice.
For sure, yeah.
Black farmers. For that specific bill, it has to be specifically black. The official name is Justice for Black Farmers because of the policies that the federal government had to take land from black farmers, and also the free land that white settlers and white people got over the course of this country history. Yeah, but in general, I do agree with you though. In general,
I just think you gotta. You're right about that. I'm in. It's a great way to fix the injustices or try to remedy the injustices of like what's happened in the past. But in terms of like the overall, like going forward with like bills that are targeting certain races, you just got to like target the people. You got to target lower class people. You just got to do that. That's the only way you can do it. And if you do that, that's how you get those white Republicans you're talking about earlier or white world people that we were talking about earlier that would not support these bills because of them. But if you say like Democrat, well, this is targeting poor people, they'll be like, oh, well, I'm not, or people that don't make this amount of money, like below this amount of money, that might get them to say, hey, like, yeah, let me go ahead and I agree with that legislation now. Like that's actually policy that's going to help me and help my life because I'm, not living in the best conditions and so forth. I know, like I think that's the way to do that. Now would that like satisfy the ADOS and FBA crowd? I don't know. I don't think so, just because of that. But I do think that you'd get a lot of Black people supporting those policies just because they can see the tangible benefit in their lives and see it helping them. So that's just how I feel about it.
Right. Now my thing is this, because I wonder, because we self-interest people, like especially in America, worldwide, but especially in the U.S.
Excuse me. Yes.
So if you put it to them like this, right? And the Democrats need to renew this child tax credit. If you bring it to people like this, even in like if you FBA, if you ADOS, if you in the Jimmy Dore crowd, even that type of crowd,
Right.
um, if you go to them and just be like, okay, elect us, you'll continue getting this child tax credit. You get money every month for this. Some people's getting up to $7,200 a year in
Hmm.
this. Other people 3,600. You elect us, we're gonna make it permanent. You're gonna keep getting this. You elect Republicans, not one Republican voted for it. Republicans gonna take this away.
Yep.
I think I wonder if some people that crowd would change their mind because we talk about stuff like Social Security. If you younger, Social Security
Doesn't mean
seems
anything.
so far away.
Yeah.
It seemed like 1,000 years away. It's
Yeah.
an important bill, but for somebody that's like, you know, 28, a lot of times they not
Shoot,
really
40.
even 40, right?
Yeah.
Um, although I'm getting close to 40, I'm in my late 30s. I'm
You're
thinking
not thinking about Social Security though, are you?
I'm actually am. I'm thinking about because I'm thinking more about retirement
No,
right
you're
now.
different. You're different because like
Yeah.
a lot of people we're getting that. We're different in that regard. We're thinking about the typical voter isn't thinking about that until they're approaching that age, I think.
Right. So I'm because and the other thing too, the reason why I'm thinking about it because my mother is 67,
Yeah.
too. So and she's still working, right? She's
Hmm.
just now about to retire. One of the things we doing is me and my wife, we gonna pay her to babysit our new daughter when we
That's
go back to work to help supplement her income with Social Security, right?
hmm
So it got me thinking a lot about it too because Social Security is good, but it's not enough
no.
for my mother to keep her apartment that she had, right? It's not enough for her to keep up, with just typical bills.
Hmm.
It's a good program, but so I think about like, okay, Social Security enough to live off of? Am I going to have like we don't have most of us don't have pensions anymore. We either have a 401k or a 403b.
Yep.
So I'm thinking about that, but I get what you say. I might be an outlier.
Yeah. That's all I'm
And
getting
that's
at.
the
I don't. Yeah. I don't
thing.
think most of us. I don't think most people are thinking about that until a certain age. But you are. Your point is correct though. If you get a child tax credit, that's going to like
Right away.
electrify you
Yeah.
and make you think about it. Shoot, if we took it a step forward and start, figuring out ways to make college more affordable for people, or and stuff like that, that'll I think energize a younger audience to come out and say like I'm going to support these candidates. But it's pipe dreams, I guess.
I would hope so. I think because it's actually cash money is a little bit different because
Yeah, I
um,
agree. I
I
agree.
talked to Medicaid is very important, right? So I talked to people that assume that Medicaid just always going to be there, and people that don't vote. And I was trying to explain to one of my friends because he hated Biden and Trump, and I do too. I was like, yeah,
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to vote for Biden for specific issues. I'm like, I don't even like Biden healthcare plan. I don't. But he has a healthcare plan. I'm like, Trump and Republicans literally have no healthcare plan at all. They have no healthcare plan.
They've never thought about
Yeah. So I'm
it.
like, healthcare is a life or death issue,
Yep.
right? And I was like, even in your state, I was telling him about how Republicans always try to cut Medicaid, right? And he was like, everybody where I'm at have health care because he's talked because everybody where he at had Medicaid. I was like, you do know that Republicans actively try to cut Medicaid all the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like it just didn't register to him that it could get cut and people might lose their health care. It didn't register to him.
Yep.
But you know, if you get money and then money can be taken away, I think that register a little bit more to
I
people.
agree. I agree.
Although it drives me crazy because in the long run, stuff like Medicaid is even more money in the long run, but people don't think about it like that because they not
No,
seeing the actual cash.
just like people don't think about universal healthcare is in the same lens. You know what I mean? You're
Right.
right. Like you're told excuse me, you're totally right. But at least with like actual like excuse me, actual cash into people's pockets, that's gonna change the box. So yeah, we talked about it before, UBI eventually like being the thing. Hopefully, like once people
I
get
think
that
this is
stuff
a
in their
gateway.
pocket.
I
Excuse
think
me.
this might be a gateway to UBI as well.
I
That's
hope
why I'm
so.
really happy about it.
I hope so. As long as, like I always say though, as long as it's not um cutting social policies and stuff and infrastructure, which it was my fear of like some of the some of the yang gang stuff. Um, I'm all for giving people like money to be live. We saw it, in different places around the country. I mean, we saw it in Richmond, California. We also saw it with Cedric, the mayor of that city, Stockton, California,
Yeah,
Cedric Richmond. Sorry,
it was a success.
it was a success. Yeah, it worked. It worked. When
Yeah,
we seen it in different places around the world, it works. So my hope is that this is a gateway to it. But you gotta. This is, I guess, that incrementalism thing that they that pisses off people like me and the technocrats love to hear about and do. So we'll see. We'll see how this is going forward. But yeah, you cut that spigot off, people are like, oh nah, like turn that back on. What the money's supposed to be flowing now because that's one thing that you know I think Donald Trump actually kind of understood. It was right, kind of understood
Mhm.
was that the real Republican ideologues didn't understand when he was trying to like win re-election last year. Like he understood, like no, we got to get that money flowing because that's what people love that. I need to be associated with that. That I gave people money.
Yeah,
You know, you can't. Once people start getting that and start being accustomed to that, if you turn that off, people are like, "Whoa, what's going on?" and why? And maybe that's what. Maybe that's why. Honestly, maybe that's why it's temporary and not a permanent fixture because they maybe Democrats want to use that to excite voters again. I don't know. I'm just being cynical about it, but maybe that might
I'm
be a thing.
concerned. I'm concerned about Mansion and Cinema though. When it
Yeah,
comes
I
to
am too.
like, Cinema is really showing her ass right now.
She's a
So
monster, B. She's a straight monster. Like that woman is like you reading about her. Like that woman might be a sociopath. Like they're all sociopaths when you get to like that level, but that's she's crazy. Like I don't know what to say, but she's crazy.
yeah, you know what though? I think I'm still got my doubts if she's the last vote that she was really voting against something that the administration and the Democrats really trying to push through.
I
I
agree.
think a lot of the stuff she do is hot air, to be honest.
You
Because
might be right.
minimum wage, it wasn't just her and Manchin. It was 6 other Democrats voted against it too to add it in the bill.
And Biden wasn't that interested in it. Like if we want to be real, like like we said in the last episode, he put out so many things to say, like we don't need to do this right now. So
Now, when it comes to the next reconciliation bill, are they going to do the same tack when it comes to the minimum wage hike? So
I
that's going to be interesting.
I doubt it. I don't think that that's a part of Biden's agenda. Honestly, like I
Yeah,
don't think he has any interest in raising the minimum wage. I know like it was a good thing to advocate for, and it probably won some races in the House that may have been lost because people voted for it. But I don't I you'll see the same battle again. It'll probably fail again because I just don't believe Biden
yeah.
has any interest in raising the minimum wage.
I think they might raise the minimum wage. I just don't think they're going to go up to 15.
Okay,
'Cause, Manchin talking about he would support $11. I'm like, because you know what, $15 an hour, what is that? That's only about what, 31,000 a year?
it's disgusting. It's not enough money at all. There's no
Yeah.
way. It was a living wage. The $15 fight was like a fight from 2009. It's not even like you know what I mean. Like it was a fight from 12 years ago, and so the fact that they're bringing it up now is like the magic elixir,
Yeah,
considering
because they acting like $15 an hour is like a lot of money
it's not. It's
at
not.
all. Like I said, that's barely over 30,000.
I I think that I think the bigger thing that to me, $15 would be great if we can get that, but the labor bills that are being discussed are things I'm like, all right, let's kind of like let's find a way to make unions and right the work and like make unions a thing in this country again. Those are the things I'm actually like. If you want to see like a real uh transitional, like a real transformational change in labor in this country, like let's have McDonald's workers unionize. You know what I'm saying?
You
Like,
think that could pass the Senate?
what's that?
You think that could pass the Senate, like the PROS Act?
All I'm saying is let's. That's what I think $15 is critical. I think it's important, but I think that if I think Biden putting his weight behind that would be like something that's all right. I guess I'm gone now. I mean, just have to wait. So I'll talk a little bit more. But I think that if Biden pushes for, all right, the camera's off. All right. Well, anyway, I think if Biden pushes for a $15 minimum wage, sorry, the PROS Act, and starts advocating for more stronger unions, where you have like Walmart workers unionizing, you have McDonald's workers unionizing, you have like a lot of these like large organizations and companies unionizing. I think that's transformational. I think that's how you start like really raising the the wages of people in this country, because unions have proven that that's the way you do it. Collective bargaining agreements is proven as the way you do it. And so, yeah, advocating for that is to me going to be the wave to get to get like better wages for people. So, welcome back. um, now I was just still continuing on about unions and
No,
that being
I heard you. I was
okay.
still there, but for some reason, the powers to be cut off my camera. You know, that
Again,
tells me
the
I'm
man,
talking
the
too much
man.
fire. You know.
You talk about unions and labor, and it's like, nah, Mo, you gotta end this. We can't be collective bargaining, man.
Yeah, no, but I agree with you. I just think I think we're gonna run into the same problem with this current Senate that we have with the $15 minimum wage, because you know you do have the PROS Act. There are actually a lot of good bills in Congress right now. Like you got the pro-union bills, you have baby bonds,
hmm
um, you there's a bunch of bills. Like you have the bill in the House that Ayanna Pressley introduced to get rid of qualified immunity for
Yep.
police officers.
Yep.
It's a bunch of good stuff, but I'm just like this razor thin majority in the Senate is it's just tough, and that goes to show you that we have to work hard in these off-year elections, in congressional races, and also in the state houses as well.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here, I do want to get a prediction for you. Do you think HR1 will pass? For those of you who don't know what HR1 is, that's the voting rights legislation that's passed the House of Representatives, that's now at the Senate. And that's what we're really talking about with the filibuster, because some Dems that previously support this filibuster is talking about reforming it when it comes to this bill. So your gut instinct, do you think they will actually be able to pass HR1?
Filibuster. There's going to be filibuster reform. I don't think it will get rid of, just because for some reason these people are beholden to the filibuster. But if you bring it back to quote unquote tradition and have like the old filibuster where people had to talk to kill bills for days and weeks, and or even like schedule votes at odd hours like they used to. Like they would schedule votes, and back in the days when people would be like on their horses and they traveled into DC on their horses and stuff, and they would leave town. The majority of the party would like schedule votes during these odd hours to try to like get bills passed, and so forth. So I think that you might see a return of like the old talking filibuster, where you have to talk about something for like odds and hours and days in order to block stuff. And I think that you will probably see some people do that just for the grandstanding and attention and so forth. I remember a couple of years ago, what's his name did that? The Kentucky senator, not Ted Cruz, Kentucky senator, Rand Paul.
Oh yeah, he did that. I think that was for the defense bill, right? The defense authorization bill.
Was it?
There's been a few of those. There's one for the defense authorization bill, and there was another one for another issue that I forget about.
Yeah, it may have been. I don't think it was. I don't think it was actually for the defense authorization bill, but maybe I'm wrong about that. But he had like a long filibuster for a couple, like a day or like 18-hour filibuster where he pulled that off. I think that you'll see a return to that, which to me is okay. Like if you're gonna, like, when people think of the filibuster, that's what they think of anyway. They don't think of like sending an email saying like I think about, you need to vote for culture and stuff, like they do nowadays. So I think that's gonna happen, and because of that, and the other thing too about that is that it also shows like the importance of doing it that way, in my opinion, is it shows that if you're debating the Voting Rights Act and you have a senator that's willing to stand for 18 hours to hold up, or 20 or 36 hours to hold up, voting for voting rights, on TV, and it's like a national story now. That's a very bad presentation. It may play well with like the far right and some of the Fox News audience, but that's like a bad presentation. That's kind of why I think that this might be a good way to still keep the filibuster, but get rid of it. So going back to your original question, I think this is the bill that will probably amend the filibuster to get rid of it, in its current state, and then I think that this is probably going to like pass. This might be the bill that passed, and I think it's something that Biden's going to throw his weight behind to get done, because this is a promise to Black voters. You know, if he doesn't throw his weight behind it, like, you know what I mean?
If they don't pass this bill, they done in 2022 because
they're done into 2030s, whatever.
Yep.
Like,
the gerrymandering is going to be off the scales. Yeah, it is. I think they're going to pass it because I think it's political survival, and these people, nothing else, is self-interest.
Yeah, self-interest. I agree. It's all self-interest.
Right. So I think they have to pass HR1 in order for them to keep power, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Right. HR1 doesn't include the election day holiday thing, does it? Or am I bugging about that? Or is that a different bill?
I read it. Let me see. I got some of the stuff up. I don't think it includes the election day holiday, and I might be tripping. I think I remember having election day off when I was a kid.
When you were in school, because schools had the they use the schools as like election offices, election booths.
So let me see.
It probably doesn't. I don't think it does.
Okay, so the bill,
separate bill. It's not an HR. It's not an HR1.
Yeah, I don't think it's in HR1. I know HR1 have extended early voting.
Mm-hmm.
It basically limits how the state houses can gerrymander. Mm-hmm. That's a big thing too, right there. HR1 is big because like these Republicans try and take it back to basically poll taxes and grandfather clause. They trying to take it all the way back.
Voting tests, poll tests.
Yeah. They trying to do it. Like they even got provisions where you can't give people food in line.
Like, yeah, that's all that. And that was in Georgia, I think.
Yeah.
That's considering, and that's the other thing too, is it's when they're pushing for this, they need to show those lines, and people were in lines for 12 hours in Texas and Georgia and Wisconsin and many of these states that have these like ridiculous election laws. They need to that needs to be like a national like ad campaign. Because that's the thing. Like that's how people are not voting, because they're standing in line for 10 hours. I remember, I don't know if you watched Saturday Night Live, but they had this like funny skit where last year where they were shuffling to the polls in like Houston, It was actually like a cool funk song. It was called "Shuffling to the Polls," and they were going to the polls, and like the different locations that they were trying to go to were all closed. That they were never normal locations; they were closed, and they had to like walk. Because they're idiots. They walked like on a highway to get to like a miles away to another location, and they were in line for like many hours. And then they couldn't vote because they didn't have masks on. But
Yeah, it is crazy because when I did early voting this year, I was in the line for an hour and I was getting impatient. I was like,
hmm
so, but yeah. Any last comments before we get out of here?
you know, this is. I think that the stimulus bill is a really good package. I think it's a good way to start the Biden agenda. But the biggest thing is like I think it's smart to use HR1 as a way to amend reform the filibuster, and I think that uh out of everything that'll pass, that might be the most important thing of his agenda is getting a new Voting Rights Act passed, and then also the John Lewis bill, the John Lewis what's it called? John Lewis. It's HR1 and then the John Lewis bill, which I'm blanking on right now,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I know what you're talking about. I forget the
Yeah,
exact name of it, but yeah, they do
yeah.
have the John Lewis bill as well.
John Lewis voting for the people bill. So I
Yeah,
think these bills are critical to ensure. I mean, I know we're talking about self preservation for Democrats and all that stuff, but personally, I just think it just needs to be like you just gotta have if you don't have functioning democracy if people can't vote
right.
in a timely manner, and I think that's like the biggest thing that uh uh Biden may pass during his tenure is getting these things passed, even if it's for Republican districts to get them out the vote. I don't really care. I just think that voting is important, and
Right.
they need to like start emphasizing that. So
Facts, and the only thing I'm going to add is bills that's being considered. They have a background check bill right now
yeah,
in Congress. I don't think that's going to go anywhere, to be honest.
the gun rights debate's over.
Where you at? They still got considering making DC a state, which need to happen as well. I don't know. I don't know somebody like Manchin or Cinema will vote for that or not.
Nah, that limits their
So
power.
yeah, they don't. I think they like being. I think they like the attention. So who knows? But that's important as well because you do have the population of Washington D.C. whose population is bigger than Wyoming's
Yeah,
that have no representation in Congress that can actually vote. They do have a representative, but that can actually vote, and they have no representation in the Senate. So
yes,
that's
shadow senators.
mhm,
We have shadow senators.
yep. So you got representation, taxation without representation,
Yeah,
and it's
that's
crazy that DC wasn't even able to vote in presidential elections till like the '60s
yep,
too. So
yep, yep,
it had to be a constitutional amendment to make that happen. So
yep,
let's make
yep.
like
It's
if they yeah.
it's
So at
it's
one
been a
point,
fight to vote in this area for a very long time. So I think that whatever they can pass, I think getting these voting bills passed is like going to be critical. Um,
yeah,
just I mean, I know it's self interest for the Democrats, but to me, it's just like this is just an American thing that we need to like really emphasize and go for. Is getting people to right to vote. That's it.
yeah, absolutely. So all right, I'll leave it with that. Good show, bro. And so.
Peace.